right, Matthew, I'm looking at your Thomas Paine blog here. And the question is, does today's government becoming too big and outgrowing its role? You talked about the fact that Thomas Paine suggested that the English government was abusing the power that it had of the American colonists. Here, colonists would be plural, so you'd have an S at the end. And notice here Thomas Paine is misspelled, and I don't know if you're telling me how you feel about reading his writing, but be very careful to check for spelling, particularly when it's the author's name. Going on down, um, I'm reading further. It says, he may not classify our government under the word tyranny as he did British government, but I believe he would say it has. Notice this. Now, this kind of poor editing will cause you not to get a very good grade on a blog. So please, Matthew, be very, very careful to edit carefully everything that you write. Let's go on down and see what you have to say about the connection here. You have a description here of the government, a little bit of the history of the government, and an interesting cartoon here. I love this, where the government's really, really big and the taxpayer's really small. And it seems to me that tells it all. So that's a great graphic to choose as far as telling your opinion about this large government. Here you talk about welfare and the welfare being a case where the government takes away a lot of the money that you might make and gives it to the poor instead. And you connect this with the English Navigation Acts that were imposed upon the American colonies. And so there's an interesting comparison between the two. And I see your picture here. It says, when you love strangers so much that you're willing to have government steal money from another stranger to help them out. That's kind of an interesting, sad statement. Going further here, the only reason government quite growing is because a violent revolution broke out. Once again, we have to be very careful to proofread, because you're hurting your argument when you have those kinds of grammatical errors. And here's a video. Let's see what this says.
Government is too large today, but the burden of federal spending will become even larger in the coming decades. We need to restrain the growth of government and protect America's economy and society from some of the problems currently plaguing Europe. I'm Blaine Bennett of Students for Liberty. Thanks for watching this Economics 101 video from the Center for Freedom and Prosperity.
Okay, so you've chosen a student video, and it has some wonderful ideas. As I watched the whole thing earlier, I saw that it does go along with your point. However, you never want to end with someone else's words. You always want to end with your own words. Your conclusion should be your final say. And so you've allowed this young woman who's taking an economics class to be the final voice in your response. You have a good beginning, you have a good question, you've incorporated some wonderful visuals and audio and video, but your blog definitely lacks careful scrutiny as far as editing goes, and of course your voice needs to be in there as well. So because of those things, this particular blog will receive an 80.